Salute Knicks Nation. The streets are buzzing. The New York Knicks finish their summer league with a win over the Atlanta Hawks. Let's talk about it and break it down with the best chat in the biz. Hope you had a great day. Welcome into the post game. As the New York Knicks closed out the summer league, the first half they balled out and the bench closed it out. And we'll give out our final grades for summer league as we recap it. Right, who stole the show and what was encouraging. Let's go through it all tonight. Salute Knicks Nation. It was a good game tonight, and of course it was a consolation game. The New York Knicks won't advance to the summer league playoffs, but I'm okay with that. I think we saw enough of what we needed to see, and I look forward to breaking it down tonight. We'll give out our grades for the game, and we'll give out our overall grades for what was, I think, a really positive summer league. I think, over the last few games, as we've talked about, Tyler Kolek has really looked ready to, to provide a spark in the backcourt, whatever it is, however many minutes he's going to get. We'll talk about it, and I want to get your thoughts on in terms of how much he is going to factor in this season. But tonight, he played the first half, and of course, Dice being the final summer league game, he did play the bench guys to close it out. But the first half was really encouraging, man. Probably the best half of summer league. Rokas and Tyler Kolek looked excellent together in the backcourt. In the pick and roll, the lob threats. There you see Hukporti getting on the end of one, and we'll talk about him. Because also what shone tonight was the center tandem. Like last game, Hukporti and Skap, they look ready. They look ready to, to come into training camp. In the case of Hukporti, we know he's on the two-way as well, and he finished with 10 points and 7 rebounds, 2 offensive. Kolek was 6 and 6. Everyone limited minutes tonight, like I said, but impressive. Rokas Jokubaitis continues to show how he can score the basketball with 12 points and 5 rebounds and 5 assists as well. So stuffing the stat sheet was Rokas, right? Of course, Skap continues to impress people. He was 9 and 4 in 11 minutes to showcase that soft touch around the basket. And Dadiet, in the third quarter, he was playing while the other guys weren't. So I thought, he was able to get loose a little bit and show what he could do too. And of course, we're going to talk about Paciome Dadiet, who, did some things in that third, like I said, but Rokas continued to score impressively. He was one of his tough buckets, getting to the paint, right? He's really looking like, the more experienced guy out there in these last 3 games. After the first 2 were pretty rough, he bounced back too. But typical Kolek game, right? TKO, that's another nickname I've seen out there. I like it. Tyler Kolek, TKO, throwing dimes to Skap on the oop as well. And of course, Hukporti got on the end of a huge jam too. There, he finishes it up right from a dime from Rokas and Kolek. The big men 8 today. What's up, Neymar, Buzzer, Nick Yak, Joey, Chris, Brian, and everyone else watching on Replay Squad. Smash that like button. Agents in the building. Knicks had a successful summer league too. We'll give out our grades, and we'll talk about the road ahead now that summer league's in the books. As I said, I'm okay that the Knicks aren't playing in the playoffs, right? 5 games is enough, and we've seen plenty of good signs from these guys, specifically the backcourt, the front court as well, with our 2 bigs as well. What are your thoughts, guys? We're here to shout you out. Let us know any observations, any questions coming up. Let's go, Knicks, says Stevie. Salute. Buzzer, I'm good. What's good with you, Joey? Orange and blue skies. Chris says the duo of Tyler Kolek and Skap has to be seen in the Garden. It's only right. Yeah, we're going to give out these grades to these guys, but to recap it all, I thought the big men have looked really good over the last 3 games. Skap pretty much most of summer league. Hukporti, after the first game, definitely hit the ground running after that. And look, Hukporti 4 or 5 today. He's on the two-way, and I think he's definitely going to fight for that third string, situational opportunity, right? Whatever opportunity comes his way, I think he'll be fighting for it. He showed his high motor in this summer league. Didn't block many shots, but his rebounding looks so legit and ready to translate when it comes to the pro game, right? He's big, he's tough. So 7 rebounds, another big night on the boards for Ariel. And don't forget 12 minutes. So 7 rebounds in 12 minutes is great. 10 points. Really solid in the rolling off the pick and roll, and showcased a better touch around the basket. And so did Skap in this one. And I really did think the bigs probably stole the show today. If I'm going to lean towards, Rokas or Kolek in the backcourt or the bigs, I think the bigs really shone today. And I've got in the caption, like you said, tandem. I think these two need to come into camp, especially Skap, because he doesn't have a contract at the moment. Hukporti does, so we're definitely going to see a lot more of him. But I'm excited. I think we could definitely see what these guys could do. They both have a little bit of a different skill set, but they both battle. Like Brian says, you may have been right about Hukporti, a grown-ass man. To salute Brian. Like I said, slower start from Hukporti in the first game, but he definitely started to pick things up over the last 3. I'm encouraged by the pick and roll, what I saw. Of course, the huge monster jam that we saw from the lob off Jokubaitis too. That was all over ESPN too. We saw Tyler Kolek early splash the 3 ball, which is encouraging as well, my friends. Nick Yak also says the center together, 25 minutes, 7 of 10, 70%, 11 boards between them, 19 points. Encouraging. Definitely for a team now, and we're looking for bigs, we could definitely do with Skap in the training camp, I think, to fight it out against Sims and Hukporti. Precious, we'll talk about that more tonight. Signs point towards Precious returning, although it ain't done until it's done, right? And of course, Michi, those guys backing him up. We've got a lot of bodies, and I think Skap has shown that he's deserving of a shot, 100%. Chef, agent, what is up, Johnny? So, we talked a little bit about the bigs. What did we see from the guards? Rokas, the last 3 games, he can definitely score the rock, though he did have 6 turnovers today. So I'll save it for my evaluation and grade later in terms of the overall side. But Rokas showed that, he can be an NBA player, I think, at some point. This is the best look we've had at seeing Rokas. Certainly, we've been waiting. He definitely can shoot it. Was 4 of 7, 2 of 2 from deep. Perfect. 2 of 3 from the free throw. 5 rebounds, 5 assists, but 6 turnovers. 12 points, but a plus 18. So we dominated when Rokas was out there. And I think, regardless of what happens about his future, I think he will take a lot of confidence from this, and it'll be good for the Knicks, whether it's a showcase for a trade or whether he might come in the future. We'll talk about that coming up too. But in terms of Tyler Kolek, right, we're seeing his passing on full display, guys, but his 3-point shooting today was continuing to be solid. 2 of 4 from deep. And he got 6 assists, 6 points, was a +1, got us a block. 2 steals as well, and just 2 fouls from Tyler Kolek, right, the New York Knicks 2nd round draft pick. Outstanding summer league. And this is where we'll lead into the first grade overall, and we'll work our way down after that. But welcome in everyone coming in. Margaret, salute. Dorkosaurus, Jean-Marc. Encouraging summer league overall, but the best story to come out of summer league for me has got to be Tyler Kolek, I think, at the top. Um, Consistency, game at a level where it's like, okay, there's an NBA game tomorrow. All the other guys are down. Who are we going to put out there? Tyler Kolek has definitely put his hand up to say that, he can give you however many minutes you need him. Yeah, is there concerns defensively? He's got to get stronger. He's definitely got to adapt to the speed of the NBA game overall. But, I mean, in the case of, what we saw in Summer League and tonight specifically, I think it went as well as you could possibly hope, right? I don't think anyone coming in would have said, oh, yeah, I wish Tyler Kolek could look better. I haven't really heard anybody say that. I think he did about as well as you could possibly ask him to do for Summer League. And look, the first grade, it's got to be an A minus. Really consistent. The 3-point shooting, I think, is encouraging, like we saw tonight. 2 or 4 from deep. Guys, salute. And we'll continue to talk about Skap and Sev and the big man, Hukporti. But Buzzer Beater says Kolek looks like a player that deserves NBA minutes. Definitely, I think. And Brian says he's John Stockton's son. I love the support, the hype we have for our guys. Yeah, he looks like a steal. I think he will only continue to get better because, this is his first hit out, against NBA level guys. College is college, but what we saw with the shooting, the playmaking, I mean, it's just awesome to see. Give him 10 minutes, he'll get you 6-7 assists in his sleep. And he'll also hit the open J, as we see the pull-up. But also, this one, great awareness, right? Court awareness, spatial awareness here. One of Hukporti's buckets was from a dime from Kolek down low. Those guys have developed real synergy. You could see him look for Hukporti there once he got 2 feet into the paint. You see Kolek's head look back, and he knows where Hukporti is going to be. And man, Hukporti showcased a nice touch on that one too. Real patience, put the ball on the floor there. One little dribble pull, hook as well. We'll talk about Sims and Mitch and what Hukporti and Skap and Sev can add to the mix of our guys too. Margaret says, I hope the coaches will also continue to work with these guys throughout the summer. Absolutely they will. And that's what's great. Those guys will continue. I think they'll go on a little vacation. But I think come probably mid-August, maybe even earlier, those guys will be back at MSG training facility. Probably along with some of these other vets who are probably back in the city now after their vacations as well. So that's a good look. Jean Marc says Skap and Sev is making an impression. Rokas look good. Dadiet not there yet, but he is young. Kolek, no defense, no bueno. That's what's going to, be something that he has to overcome early. But I think, whether it's 5, 10, 7 minutes, I think, he can help you more than the defense will hurt you in the beginning. But yeah, he's going to get stronger, and he's definitely got to get quicker. With that said, so yeah, continue to give us your reactions. Right, another great bucket from Hukporti on this one. That is the same bucket. Let me pull up the next one. Yep, this is more of a patient approach. So Hukporti almost out there on the corner, hesitation. Yep, seal his man off, and I think that was Hukporti's best bucket of Summer League too. So that one didn't come off a dime, but he definitely, had his best game, like Dorkasaurus. Hukporti's breakout game in this one. And look, he didn't even play in the second half. He absolutely would have had a double-double had he, played more minutes. But A- for Tyler Kolek. Excellent Summer League. Things to work on, which you always got to take the good and the bad. So you take away that Kolek can shoot. He can play make with the best of them. He can get 2 feet into the paint. he can, run a team, and that's what we've been crying out for the backup spot, guys. So yeah, I'm really happy we picked this man up, and I think he'll be a fan favorite when the real thing comes. 4-year contract as well, so the Knicks have, him under cost control, and it's great to see. Maybe he will factor into this season more than we expect. We don't know yet. Injuries do happen as well. Buzzer Beater with a super chat. Salute, Buzzer. Great to see you. Hope you're doing well, fam. Buzzer says, are they waiting on Randall before signing Chewy? I wouldn't say there's any evidence to suggest that, but you might be onto something. It's definitely possible. But I think the bigger hold up with Chewy is the fact that they are exploring, trades, big men on other teams, to see how they can acquire them to potentially then trade Chewy in a sign and trade. If there's no other better offer that they can pull off for a trade, I think they'll bring Chewy back. So it's definitely possible that, they're waiting to see if it's a bigger move, how that all plays out. But I don't think those two are necessarily connected. Randall can't be extended until August, so we do have a couple weeks away. But look, shout out to Precious Achua because he's been patient. Wherever he ends up, he's definitely interested in coming to the Knicks. Otherwise, he would have, taken a deal by now. And I think obviously it's in his best interest as well to wait to see, because the Knicks can offer him the most. We can exceed the cap, to pay him. So I think he's either going to get a payday with us or paid to get signed and traded. Margaret says, I think having 4 centers will have helped coming into next season. Certainly you can't have enough depth. Yeah, that spot, we lost Isaiah Hartenstein. That was a huge blow. And with that said, these guys look really, really encouraging. Talking about Hukporti, Skap and Sev. And look, Sims has obviously, been in the gym as well with his trainer, working on his game as well. But yeah, Tyler Kolek, the last 2 games prior to tonight, finished it off with late buckets too. So he showed his strength on this one. And whatever he might struggle with defensively, he's definitely going to be a guy to help on the offensive side of things. So Tyler Kolek with the A-, and we'll move on to the next grade, and we'll talk about him and who that is. Right, let's keep it in the backcourt for tonight, guys. We're rocking out with the best chat in the biz. Smash that like button. The Nick streets are buzzing. And give me your grades with me, and we'll chop it up together. Right, let's keep it in the backcourt, and then we'll talk about the bigs, and we'll talk about Dadiet. But next up is the Lithuanian legend, Rokas Jokubaitis. We drafted him back in 2021. It's been a long time waiting, right? Whether you're impressed after this summer league or not, I think Rokas had a pretty solid summer league, and he definitely put his hand up to say that, my game is something worth keeping around, regardless if you're the Knicks or another team. And he definitely scored, and he definitely assisted, distributed, and found guys. So I'm going to pull up his grade, but his play of the night was this big jam and finish, right? Showed his aggression, and I said, I'm getting to the cup there. I think he showcased his strength and his defense as well. Now, that is something that people weren't really aware of in terms of, Rokas being a defender. That's not something we'd have been accustomed to seeing. So with tonight, he finished a plus 18 in the box score, which is huge for an 8-point win. We were absolutely dominant when he was on the floor. Finished 4 of 7, 2 of 2 from deep, right? Splashing the 3 ball, getting to the free throw, 2 of 3, 5 assists, 5 rebounds, and 12 points, but with the 6 turnovers. So Yeah, summer league, it's really physical, so you can turn the ball over, but there's no excuses for 6 turnovers. But if you're looking at the positives first, I'm here to say that Rokas's game offensively is NBA ready, right? He can shoot the ball, he can play make some, and get guys involved. And I think the more he's in this environment, practicing with the Brunsons of the world, whoever, whatever rosters he's on, I think there's signs where you could say, okay, he's worth keeping around, and he's someone who you could play. And so, with that said, look, Rokas, I think, especially after the first 2 games, which were really underwhelming, but he definitely started to pick things up offensively and shooting wise too. But I think the defense was really encouraging for me overall. So with that said, taking the good and the bad after the 2 starts and and then a really fast finish in these last 3 games, I'm going to give Rokas overall. I'm going to give him a solid B for his summer league. And this is an overall grade tonight and summer league as a whole, a B for Rokas after the slow start. You guys let me know. What are your thoughts on Rokas, right? The 3-point shooting is something that we've seen in FIBA. I've seen. He's not a true point guard. I think we can establish that. Is he a combo that can run a bit of action, get guys involved, but find the lob as well? Absolutely. And I think that's something, to take away, right, overall. So now let's talk about bigger picture with Rokas as I just scroll through the comments. Salute Regular Joe, what's up? Hope everyone had a great day. We're rocking out together. After the final summer league game, the New York Knicks finished 3-2, and I think it was a really positive summer league with that one. Jean-Marc gives Rokas a B+. Brian goes a C for Rokas. Appreciate you guys. Buzzer says a B is cool for Rokas. So yeah, we'll take the averages, the C, the B+, the B. You guys are kind of feeling what I'm saying with the B. What could he have done better? I guess obviously the first 2 games, maybe you don't read so much into it because he flew from overseas. He didn't participate in the New York Knicks training camp for this summer league situation. So that is something worth keeping in mind as well. Now, here was another dime from Rokas to our big guy, Skappy, D Skap. We'll talk about Skap tonight as well, guys, as we're buzzing. And the big men, we've started with the front court. We started with the backcourt, sorry. Anyone that's just joining us, and then we'll work our way to the front court. But Kolek got an A- for Summer League. We're on to Rokas now. Finished with a really healthy stat line in the plus-minus too. D Cool goes a C. And J Dub goes with a B for Rokas. So, yeah, up and down, mixed bag. But, for a 23-year-old now, he kind of finished this summer league the way you want to see it, right? It would have been really underwhelming if he didn't pick things up. So he kind of did what he needed to do. This is a guy with international experience in big competitions, World Cups, playing in Spain for Barcelona. So, but the 3-point shooting is a big tick. Scoring wise is a tick. He can get to his spots, and a little bit of playmaking involved. But he's got to improve on the turnovers overall. So, where does that leave Rokas in the grand scheme of things? As I pull up the roster now, I'm going to bring up some quotes from Rokas as he spoke to, I think, Steph Bondi of the New York Post on his future and the New York Knicks beat writers. So Rokas said this the other day. This wasn't tonight, but this is what he said after the, I think after the second or third game. Rokas says, with years of maturity, experience I've got from Europe, I think I'm ready, and I would like to come here. So the man has spoken. Those are his feelings, and I think Rokas, you know, as I said, there was a lot of reactions when the news came out that he's going to play in Europe with that other club, but that isn't a done deal yet. And I said he wouldn't come to Summer League unless he had a desire to want to play in the NBA. Those are his actions. I think, and it's pretty clear that the guy wants to play in the NBA. It's up to the New York Knicks to offer him a contract, right? It's never been Rokas saying, I don't want to come over. It's always been, why would he leave that job over there if the other place hasn't offered him a job yet? You never leave a job if you don't have another job lined up. And it's easy for people to say, oh, why didn't Rokas come? He doesn't want to come. Well, as far as I know, the New York Knicks have never offered a contract. So, and nor really should they. I'm not saying the Knicks were in the wrong, right? He just wasn't ready. So I think both sides were cool to do what they did. But I think right now a decision needs to be made. A decision needs to be made on Rokas's future, right? He had a pretty solid summer league, a B from me. I think there would have been definitely some teams looking to say he could be our two-way. He could be our, 13th man. I think he showed that he could be on an NBA roster, and I think, moving forward, I think it's going to be easier for the Knicks to make a decision now. What do you guys say, right? Should we trade Rokas and just trade his rights to someone, or should we hold tight and sit tight and see what happens in the future? Building Blocks Salute says, I believe Rokas's rights will be traded with Precious now that Summer League is over. I think that is the hold-up. That could definitely well be possible. I think either way, Rokas's stock has gone up. Whether it's a little bit or a little bit more, depends on where you sit with Rokas. But I think, as I said before, I think there'll be some NBA teams that have looked at, these last 3 games. I mean, he was clearly a standout, right? You don't have to be a genius to see that he was one of the better players on the court over the last 3 games, right? Especially last game. But tonight in limited minutes, was very effective. 12, 5, and 5 with a plus 18. But yeah, obviously the six turnovers is bad, but the 3-point shooting is legit. So what are my personal opinions on what we do with Rokas, right? I'm inclined to believe that, yeah, he'll be part of a trade because he's probably got more value to us as an asset to trade out than to bring him on the roster. And that's no knock on Rokas's talent. That's just where we're at right now, and where the New York Knicks ball club is at. We just don't have a need for him as well. But look, we drafted the man, and if he turns out to be an asset for us that we end up flipping, I think that'll be, justifiable from taking the pick as well. Jean-Marc says Kolek is more tradable. You feel like than Rokas. You want us to keep Rokas. Salute. Nick Yak says Rokas will be on the roster with Kolek, Skap, and Hukporti as the two-ways. J Dub says we should keep him. He's got value. D Cool says trade his rights. Salute Rory. What's up? Look, I'm at the point where I won't be surprised if either happens, but I do feel like most likely Rokas will get traded in the future. It might not happen immediately, but I do think he'll probably sign a deal with the Lithuanian club for one more season, and then maybe he comes over to the States next season on another team, or we'll see. But I tell you what, another team might be the one to force the issue. They might be, coming to the Knicks and say, hey, you're stacked. And this is what these other executives do. They watch other teams' rosters. You could be Danny Ainge or Brad Stevens. You could be like, hey, Leon Rose, you've got Brunson, you've got Deuce, and you've got Kolek. Yeah, they look pretty good, don't they? How about that Rokas kid? You don't have any use for him. We like him. Can we do something? Right? We'll give you a big, or we'll give you a draft pick, whatever it may be. I'm sure other GMs are going to be calling the New York Knicks now to say, hey, what's up with Rokas? He came all the way over from overseas. He played well in Summer League. You don't have a need for him as well. So I think that'll grease the wheels on a deal if the Knicks aren't already pushing it. But I'm satisfied with what I saw from Rokas, right? I think he could hold his head up high. I think, he did as well as I expected he could do. He didn't exceed those expectations, but I don't think he fell below those either. So I'll give Rokas a B overall, and we'll continue to talk about him later throughout the show, go through the box score, and shout you guys out. Salute everyone. Smash that like button. The Knicks streets are buzzing. So that is Kolek with an A-, and that is Rokas with a B, right? They absolutely dominated today in the first half, those two, in terms of running the show. Kolek with 6 assists, 6 points, and both in the plus minus. Now we pivot over to our big men, ladies and gentlemen, and then we'll talk about Paciome Dadiet after those two. Hukporti and Skap and Sev, guys, absolutely monsters throughout this Summer League situation, showing that they can be a tandem, right? Do we need to bring these guys in and be more of a factor coming in, right? Here is Skap and Sev. I think they both showed good hands finishing at the bucket, but I'll start with Hukporti first up, especially with this one, showed his a little drop hook. So, Hukporti has had a really solid Summer League. After the first game, it's been all the way up from there. Hukporti finished with 4 of 5 from the field, once again efficient. So Hukporti didn't finish below 50% in any game. He was either 50% or above at the rim, from the field, out of every single Summer League game. So that's a positive, right? Efficient. Rebounded at a really high level. 7 rebounds today in 12 minutes. 2 of them offensive. Reminds me a lot about Isaiah. And I think that's why Tibbs drafted the man, and that's why the New York Knicks are really high on Ariel Hukporti. 10 points, right? 3rd game in a row where he almost had a double-double. Three games ago had the double-double. Last night almost, and tonight almost a double-double. But he would have got the double-double if he played more minutes. So, Hukporti will go through some highlights and shout you guys out now before we give out that grade. Paula says the team looked better today. Absolutely. Great call. Margaret says B for Rokas is fair. John Mark says a B for Hukporti and a B plus for Skap. Margaret says, yes, the centers look good. So Hukporti, the grade I'm going to give him, and let me know if you agree or disagree, but overall, I think he deserves a B plus, right? Showed what he can do. I think really consistent. Outside of the first game, he picked things up. High energy. I think the motor now people can really see. They can also see his deficiencies, Some of you that didn't know what he was all about, he's not really an offensive-minded center. Although today did give you some real optimism that he can be, a finisher around the rim at a really good level. But in terms of what we're going to miss with Isaiah and the floaters and all of that, that is going to be a drop-off. But in terms of the motor, rebounding, and hustle, there might not be any drop-off. And that's really good, because obviously Isaiah Hartenstein was a huge energizer for this team. Mitch is a big energizer. Sims is active when he comes in, but he has deficiencies too. I think the Knicks really did great getting Hukporti. I like the pick from the get-go. I knew about the kid all season last year, being where I'm from and scouting him in the NBL. I know that the New York Knicks came to Australia in January. Walt Perrin and Adam, another Knicks scout, they came to look at him, up close, and he checked the boxes for a Tibbs kind of center. Rebounds at a high level, will compete, and will definitely leave it all out there. Runs the floor really well. and just another rim runner who has the chance to, become a really consistent backup in the NBA. If you get that out of the 58th pick, I don't think anybody could really complain about that. Nick Yak, Hukporti backing down centers calling for the ball. And he is a lefty. Dorkosaurus says Hukporti only shoots from his left, too. His hands, I think, were solid. He's definitely not Nerlens Noel. I didn't really see him drop any balls. Brian, Hukporti B+, needs to work on his closeout D and spacing on the defensive side. NBA ready, in my opinion. Agree with you 100%. I think I could throw him out there tomorrow for 7 minutes. He's not going to hurt you. Yeah, he might not. He might not be a guy who, takes over a game, but his energy is going to be contagious. In an NBA game, we've seen the likes of Norvel Pell get minutes with us. We've seen Luke Coronet. We've seen Skap and Sev even, get, training camp deals and all of that. And Hukporti has a higher ceiling, I think, than that. And certainly, Tibbs, I think it goes back to how quick can he win minutes. It's going to be, a factor with Tibbs because he loves the kind of center that Hukporti is. And that's why the New York Knicks drafted the man. No coincidence with the final pick in the NBA draft. They could have let the man slip out of the draft. But no, they scouted him, like I said, and they took him too. So I think it's been a positive summer league for Hukporti, right? With the expectations that he's the 58th pick, right? Again, I see some people say he sucks. People say, he's not worth keeping around. And there's various opinions out there too. But I don't know if those people are really looking at it from the lens of like he's the 58th pick, right? He's going to be a career backup, right? He's not going to be a guy who starts for you, plays 30 minutes a night. If you can get a quality backup big as an energizer guy coming in, under cost control too, like we do with the the two-way and then maybe a minimum for multiple years, I think. Just like we got out of Jericho Sims, I think that's a big tick, right? You can only expect so much from that pick in the NBA draft. So mad finish at the rim, and he chose violence on this one. Can get up there, 9-3 standing reach, and he showed that in the combine too. So yeah, what are some things Ariel's got to get better at? I think certainly defensively, in terms of rotating, being the help defender as well. He was out of position a little bit. He's not the quickest big, but he does a good job at eating up space. I think he's adjusting to the 3-second count. You see in the NBL and FIBA, there's no 3-second count. So he could park himself under the bucket. So I think Ariel has actually spoken about that being a big adjustment for him. So having to come out on the perimeter a little bit too. But pick and roll, I think he's looked really good. Probably give him an A in the pick and roll category. And especially shout out to the guards who have found him. But he absolutely caught a body on that one. And look, he owes the point guards a dinner after this summer league. He owes them a drink. Because all of his big moments were off the pick and roll and the dimes. So that is Ariel Hukporti, guys. Now let's talk about Dmitrio Skapintsev. Let's go. Rory says Hukporti's a B. And Pytho Nick, what's up? Hawkporti. CT. Yeah, I've heard that one before as well. AP, Summer League's buzzing. Definitely. Optimus 2G. He's on a two-way. Let's see what he's got. Even if he's just the third center, it's a win. Great way to think about it, man. Yeah. Like I said, a lot of people have more expectations on it. Maybe they wanted him to look like Mitchell Robinson early, People have different, expectations. as we know with Knicks fans. But yeah, I think he'll start to win more people over, as we've seen. Let us know. Has he won you over in the comment section? Now that you've seen Ariel Hukporti live, in games after the draft, maybe you wanted to see a little bit. Give us your grade. Let us know your thoughts. Do you think he can win some minutes this off-season? Look, for me, we're obviously waiting. We're in a holding pattern with the primary backup. And I don't think any of these guys are going to be the primary backup, right? As we pivot to Dimitrios Skapintsev, right, and give him his flowers. We'll just get a quick thought on, what the Knicks are going to do with the backup spot. I don't think it's going to be Sims as the preferred backup. I don't think it's going to be Hukporti as the number one backup, and I don't think it's going to be Skapintsev. All of those guys will be fighting for the third string, right? The backup will either be Precious, or it'll be someone who's, brought in via a trade with Precious or with Rokas, with Bates-Diop, with picks, etc., etc. It could be anything, but that's what my opinion from the beginning. I think coming into opening night, Leon will try and most likely bring in a veteran backup, because they'll want someone who's ready to start, in case Mitch goes down, right? If Mitchie goes down, your backup better be a guy who's capable of starting, right? Because they're going to have to start every single night. If Mitch misses 20 or 30 games, just like Isaiah, did, and stepped in and got those big minutes. Let me know, do you agree? Or do you think Sims or Precious, Hukporti or Skapintsev could be the backup for you? JW says Skap and Hukporti both are B+ grade. Salute. Rory says, I like Rokas, solid point guard. Yeah, I like him too. I just don't know if he fits on the club anymore because of the how stacked we are. But I think that's a good problem to have. Chris says A+ for Skapintsev. Seen him do everything a team would want a big man center to do. And with that said, let's give out our grades on Skapintsev and look at his numbers. Dimitrio had 3 of 5 limited minutes as well, but 3 or 4 from the free throw. He's been great at that all summer league. 4 rebounds tonight, 9 points, 13 plus, with 2 turnovers and a foul. So, really serviceable big man. I think whether the Knicks have him in Westchester, and he could be a big that could work with Paciome Dadiet and maybe Kolek in the G League a little bit, I think that's a no-brainer. He has to come to Westchester at least. Again, he was with Westchester last season, but bring him in to training camp, give him an Exhibit 10. I think that's the floor for me. The ceiling could be he wins, a two-way or the end of the bench. When it comes to that, and we'll see how it plays out. But look, with Hukporti and him both shining, I think it's a positive sign that the Knicks, will maybe be able to be a little bit more patient, right? No trading away 2 first-round picks for Walker Kessler and Deuce McBride, like what Danny Ainge is trying to get out of us, right? I think we've seen enough from Hukporti and Skapintsev to say that if the season began tomorrow, we're not desperate, right? Is it an area we have to upgrade? Absolutely. But should we be desperate with all these guys looking okay? I don't think so. Shout out to Skapintsev for the work he's put in. He's been with us for a minute. He even got, a kind of a spot minutes, I think 2 seasons back. But my grade for him overall and for Summer League, it's probably going to have to be a little bit higher than Hukporti. I'm going to go A- for Skapintsev overall for the Summer League, and expectations based on him having met those, exceeded in some instances too. Really active, efficient around the basket. Free throws have been really good. He's rebounded pretty good as well, and his rim protection has also been, very solid as well. So he's a 26-year-old. He's not really a high upside guy at all. He is what he is right now, but could he become more consistent is the thing. So that's my thoughts on that. Dorkasaurus says Skapinsev, Hukporti, and Precious altogether could be a good backup for Mitch. So you think centre by committee, backup centre by committee, and platoon, those guys, yeah, injuries happen. Like, it's funny how we talk about it so much, but Mitch, this could be the season that Mitch stays fully healthy. I'm praying for that, and I want Mitchy, to play, a full season and not get hurt. We're just going off the track record and what's been happening, but yeah, I think these guys are going to come in and be insurance in training camp. When it comes to vying for those backup minutes, we heard the commentary talk about it a lot, where everyone knows that the New York Knicks situation is what it is, and with the soft touch and playing solid drop coverage, we could do a lot worse, man. I certainly don't think any veteran, those veteran minimum big men are necessarily better options than Skapinsev or Hukporti, right? We've seen Skapinsev be pretty consistent. I think he was a bright spot in summer league last season, and he's looked even better in this off season and this summer league too. There you see a little turnaround hook as well, was money. Dude, that is definitely Isaiah Hartenstein-esque, minus the hustle and the energy and the rebounding. But Skapinsev, I think, can be a third string. I think none of these guys are out of their depth when we're talking about third string. Are they, capable of providing big backup minutes on a nightly basis in the NBA? That is up to the front office, I think, to decide. But what are your thoughts? NYC Ball 08 salute says, guys always looking good in the G League and Summer League. Yeah, there is a difference between that level and the NBA level, but can they just be serviceable? And Tekla Rory says Demetrio deserves a shot this year, B+ for him. Demetrio Dynamite, salute. Nick Yak says he was the best player in Summer League. For you, you're high on him. AP says, I really like them. He looks better than Sims. Yeah, a lot of people are underwhelmed with what they've seen with Sims, and his contract is going to wind down after this season. It's really going to be fascinating to see other New York Knicks making, plans for the future. The one key takeaway we have to look at with both of these bigs is that every single game, Dice Yoshimoto, the coach, he split the minutes right down the middle. Right, he never gave Skapinsev more minutes specifically in one game than the other, and he never gave Hukporti more minutes than Skapinsev, man. He split it right down the middle. So those two, went to work with all of their minutes. They made the most of that, I think, but they had a clear plan to let these guys play equal amounts. And Skapinsev ended up with 11 minutes, Hukporti with 12. Hukporti got into a little bit of foul trouble last night, and that's where they kind of separated a tiny bit. But, for the most part, both of them were a walking double-double in Summer League. So, that's probably one of my key, second most positive takeaway. It's not Paciome Dadiet. It's not Rokas. It's Tyler Kolek, number one. And the big men situation does look a little bit better now with these two guys in the fold. Right. I've given my thoughts on Jericho Sims. I think, in regular season spots, he can give you backup minutes in a pinch. I need to see improvement from him, though, and hopefully we do. But insurance is never never a bad thing, having these guys too. Kenny Payne says, I like these summer league Knicks. Let's go. Salute. We finished 3-2, a positive record after losing the first two. Your New York Knicks summer league squad, ladies and gentlemen, finishes above 500. Right. Again, shout out to these guys. Kolek and Rokas went to work, and the bigs owe them a dinner, I think, because those guys weren't looking better because of Dwayne Washington. They were looking better because Rokas and Kolek can pass the rock, right? So shout out to our guards for feeding the bigs as well. Hopefully Mitchie was watching. I think Mitchie might be watching and say, "Hey, I want to play with Rokas and Kolek as well. They'll find me." Margaret says Demetrio is hungry. You said it. He's really hungry. I'm not sure of his personal situation a whole heap, but I have heard that he can't go back to the Ukraine where he's from. Obviously, for various reasons, but he is hungry. I think he's coming for a guaranteed spot. Whether it's on a two-way or not. And what does his future hold now? We already know the future of Ariel Hukporti. That's locked up. He's on a two-way deal for 1 year, and that's guaranteed now. That's signed, sealed, delivered. Now, there is one two-way spot still available, right? What is up with Kevin McCullough is, he's rehabbing in New York City. I'm expecting the Knicks to sign him at one point, whether it's this summer or a stash next summer, but he is the favorite, I think, to win the final two-way. But, maybe the Knicks don't need to make a decision right now because maybe he's injured. Maybe, he sits out for a little bit. Maybe Skap and Sev comes into training camp and you can see whether he can earn a spot as well. Right. Is there another trade, though, too, where Precious, maybe Bates-Diop, maybe Jericho Sims gets part of a package to bring in more guys as well, and maybe a roster spot opens up? That's something that I'm looking out for too. So we'll see how it all plays out, but I think it's encouraging how these bigs have done some things as well. So and yeah, look, I said with Sims, he's given us some meaningful minutes throughout his career. I think he's been a success in terms of the 58th pick. Most players don't survive in the NBA in that situation, for multiple years. So Jericho has provided good value to the New York Knicks. I think contractually, the contract is coming to an end after this year. And I think Hukporti on a two-way is a part of the Knicks insurance for, in the case that Sims doesn't come back. Is he better than Sims? Well, time will tell. Right now, it's not, we can't come to definitive, conclusions yet, because we'll see throughout the season and what Tibbs likes. But, we don't really need to look much beyond the contracts because Sims' contract is coming up. Would the Knicks be willing to pay Jericho more than the minimum? I doubt it. Right, I doubt it. Right now, he's on the minimum. His contract is partially guaranteed. I think it's hit the first level of guarantee where it's 1.3 million guaranteed. And I think come January, I think the rest of his contract becomes guaranteed, which is 2 million. So I think 1.3 million has been guaranteed for Sims. I think the rest of the year is partially guaranteed, with the deadline being January. So, if Hukporti's balling out at that point, maybe they don't guarantee the rest of Sims's deal, right? If Hukporti looks like he needs more time and Sims is playing well, then I think the Knicks will guarantee the rest of Sims's deal if he's not traded. But B+ for Hukporti and an A- for Skap and Sev. We'll continue to shout you guys out and get your thoughts on the New York Knicks summer big men. They really had themselves a great summer league and can hold their heads up high. As we pivot now and we talk about the New York Knicks first draft pick, the 25th overall pick in the first round, Paciome Dadiet. Right. What are your thoughts, guys? I thought the positives from tonight, specifically first, third quarter, I think Paciome Dadiet did some things with Rokas and Skap and also Tyler Kolek off the floor. The offense had to go through someone. And we saw Paciome Dadiet's cutting to the basket on this one. Opportunistic cut. And I think that's where Paciome has thrived in Summer League, in that area. Off-ball movement, his length, his athleticism, his size is a worry for the defense. So he's had multiple baseline cuts throughout Summer League too. And the timing of his cuts are really, really good as well. So good feel for the game on that side. Where the struggles have come in for Dadiet is definitely on the ball. Off the ball, no issues at all. He can move well. As I said, good timing on the cuts. And look, he's even showcased some finishing as well when he does get to the hoop. And I think he's going to continue to grow. He's there's reports that he's 6'9", maybe inching towards 6'10", right, 18. He's one of the reasons I'm excited to watch Westchester. Again, at the point we're at, guys, we're competing for a chip, right? This guy was a move for the future. You could call it a stash, but a stash in our own backyard, which is basically Westchester, instead of the overseas stash. But he is technically a stash. He wasn't drafted with the expectation that he's going to play this season, and he wasn't drafted with the intention to play him this season. So, I think it's a good situation where he can just develop. We can develop him and mold him like out of clay. Whether he be a wing stopper, a wing scorer. I think he can, show signs of being either. There's signs that he could be a power forward in the future as well if he does grow to be 6'10", and obviously bulk up. He might be able to be a stretch 4 as well. Just like, Paul George played a little bit as 4 as, his career went along. Carmelo Anthony played a little bit of the 4 as well as he got a bit bigger and slower. Aaron Gordon as well. I think he's definitely a huge body in terms of length. His finishing at the rim projects to be really good. The concerns for me were on ball and the shooting. For Dadiet, 1 of 6, 0 of 4 from deep, right? He could not buy a bucket from 3 tonight, and a lot of them were wide open, excellent looks too. But he said it himself. He is adjusting to the NBA three-point line, which is a real thing. All prospects do talk about it, and I do buy that that's a real excuse because in Europe, FIBA, the three-point line is different. So you do need a little bit of time to adjust. But a couple were air balls, and a couple were just wide open and just rimmed out as well. So look for that to continue to improve over the season. I don't think it's going to be as bad as 0% or whatever he's shooting, whether it be in the 20s or the teens from 3. I think that will improve. He's got a good jump shot. He's got a good form, and I think he needs to work on his shot in that one, and he'll get plenty of reps in Westchester. Taz TV says Dadiet needs to be a knockdown shooter. I think he needs to improve on that area. David says Skap gets an A. Salute. Chris says I don't see Paciome will ever get a main roster playing time. Not at the Knicks. He doesn't look nowhere near ready. Just being honest. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we're seeing what we see right now. But a few years of development and things can definitely change. But G League for now, he will be great. Says Nick Yap. Yep. So I'm glad to see you guys are more on the patient approach. I mean, it's hard not to be now that, with all our wings, guys, we got Mikal Bridges, OG, Hart, DiVincenzo, Bates-Diop, really it was a good situation, I think, for Paciome to come in. Had he go to Detroit and have to play a lot of minutes in the NBA, his stock might drop. Unfortunately, we've seen cautionary tales with Kevin Knox, um, other wings that were drafted, Pokashevsky now out of the league, or, has been a little bit in and out of the league. Frank Ntilikina, etc. I'm not just throwing French prospects out there, but you get what I mean, right? If you come into the NBA as a raw 18-year-old and you go to a team where you have to play a lot of minutes, it could be bad for your confidence. If you're not ready, you're not ready. So that is why the NBA, introduced the G League. That's what it's there for. Allow guys to get plenty of minutes, get their, work on their weaknesses, and get all the mistakes out of the way, right? Out of the spotlight, right? Not in New York City, not in, not at MSG, where the lights are bright. You know, work on ball reps, work on spot up shooting, and I think this season, he'll develop in that area. But back to the positives, we end on the positive note, is that Paciome looks ready off ball. But unfortunately, you don't draft a player in the first round to be an off ball player specifically. You hope that they can become good on the ball, and that's what we project, or we hope that he can be. He was one of the largest risers late in the draft. A lot of people are high on his upside too. So for summer league, the cutting looked really good. I think finishing at the rim looked pretty good. Had some flashes defensively as well, which is again kind of funny to say, but a lot of prospects are weaker defensively early. Whereas I think Paciome, having pro experience, being 6'9", long, rangy, I think that actually helps him become a better defender, earlier. But the handle, the shot creation is just not there right now. And look, summer league is really the wrong place, I think, as well to address that, because it's physical, right? The moment you try to drive in traffic, there's going to be 4 guys helping strip the ball and most likely foul you, as each guy gets 10 fouls. Well, so I think summer league is really not a good place, to showcase your shot creation if you're a project, because you're going to get a lot of fouls too. But yeah, it's no surprise that he did thrive playing off ball and the cutting as well. So were the Knicks justified drafting him in the first round? I think the fact that Kolek looked really good, and that the fact that most people had Kolek as a first round prospect, then I'm fine with it. All you got to do is basically swap it and switch them around, and look at it like Kolek was the 25th pick, Paciome Dadiet was the 34th pick on this one. But look, for me, it's a big incomplete. I can't come on here and say that he's a bust. I can't come in here and say that he's not going to be something, because I think we definitely didn't see enough sample, and he's definitely by far the finished product. A long ways to go. So I'm going to give a grade, but this is just based on my expectation coming in. Right, my expectations were pretty low in terms of what we would see, hoping to be pleasantly surprised. But overall, I guess just based on my expectation for Paciome Dadiet, I'm going to go, I'm flirting between 2 grades. I'm going to go, yeah, I'll settle on a C minus, right? I'm not going to give the man a D, because again, my expectations weren't very high. We saw some flashes at times, absolutely. Would have liked to see more. Would have liked to see more better 3-point shooting, and a little bit of creation. A little bit of get to his spot, mid-range, pull up, swish. Yeah, that looks nice. We didn't see none of that. Again, when it was crowded, he just couldn't get anything going. He couldn't get into space as well. But also, we did have 2 good point guards, and he didn't get on the ball very much as well. So, but look forward, as I said, I'm going to watch Westchester this season. In 3 years' time, we could be walking out of this situation like we got a steal. I think that's the best way to look at it. When Josh Hart becomes 32, 33 years of age, Dante DiVincenzo will be 32, 33, in 4 years' time. Dadiet will only be 22. Right? He'll be younger than Kolek and Rokas in 4 more years. Let that sink in, right? Rokas is 23. Tyler Kolek is 23. Paciome Dadiet has 5 years to catch up on that. So I'm definitely, optimistic that he could be a really good NBA player, and I think most scouts were as well. But that's the luxury we're at right now, fam, and in terms of guys who who can help us out right now too. So Dirty Dancers in the building. Salute. Late first, you just want a rotation piece. I think at minimum, me personally, I mean, we did get good value out of Grimes quickly. But yeah, I certainly wouldn't be upset if he does become a rotation piece in 3 years, 4 years as well. For perspective, Johnny says Kevin Summer Knox looked 10 times better than Pac-Man. He did. I think for me, the big difference is that Kevin Knox was a lottery pick. Paciome Dadiet was a late first. So yeah, when scouts do their draft boards, they do levels as well, like lottery level guys, fringe rotation guys, and then sleepers. They do put guys into levels as well. So yeah, I mean, I think the Knicks, definitely placed a nice bet on upside. I think Dadiet's size could come back to be the best attribute because he could be a wing defender. As NYC says, Dadiet should spend the summer with Tatum. Dorkasaurus says, why don't they normalize the 3-point line globally? That's a good discussion for another day. I agree with you on that, especially the court size as well. Margaret says Dadiet is IQ. He start making those crazy shots. Yeah, I think the best way to look at it is he's 18. Give him a few years. He could really surprise, He could start to show signs later in, this season if he hits the weight room and he also, keeps growing. But I think his feel for the game probably deserves, if I'm just grading, a specific category, I know I've given him a C- for Summer League based on expectations, but if I'm just grading his feel for the game, I could probably give it a B or maybe higher. I think he tried to fit into the offense. He cut at good times. He didn't really take ill-advised shots. It's tough. Summer League is it's a playground. It's a scrimmage. And guys, playing with Dwayne Washington is already tricky because he was already, getting most of the shots. And so I think once Paciome gets an organized offense around him, think about Westchester. Think about if he's playing with Tyler Kolek a little bit or whoever the guards are out there in Westchester around a structured offense. I think he could be a 15 and 8, 20 and 8 guy in the G League. Come the end of the season. So similar level competition to Summer League, but it's amazing what an organized offense will do where you're playing each and every night with the same teammates, the same coach. You're going up against G League guys. It's going to be far more beneficial for Dadiet than these 5 Summer League games slapped together last minute. Especially the physicality aspects as well. Johnny's asking, what is Pac-Man's ceiling, CT? Who can his top game approach? I think he was comped to players like, I think, Danny Granger kind of guys, with the length. Obviously, the ceiling is, I think, in terms of without player comp, his ceiling should be NBA starter, I think it is realistic. to see him as an NBA starter. I think Grimes, in his second year, showed that he could be an NBA starter. Maybe not on a playoff or a championship level team, which is why the Knicks ended up trading Grimes. But if you're talking about, the Charlotte Hornets or Washington or Detroit in 2 years' time, 3 years, I think he could be an NBA starter on that situation, right? Look at Kevin Knox, lottery pick, not even in the league anymore, fighting for a spot. So for me, yeah, if Dadiet can just be an NBA starter, that would be solid. I think his best shot at doing that, from what I've seen, is to be an off-ball wing defender. Master the three-point shot, the corner shot, become a Cam Johnson, become a Mikal Bridges early, right? Right. If the shot creation comes along at a really good level, then nice. He's definitely, he's competing to be, a veteran, a 10-year veteran in the league. But if he just levels out at a wing stopper and a solid wing defender at 6'10", who can knock down the corner three, then you're looking at Cam Johnson. You're looking at Trevor Ariza. I think for many, many years as well. Trevor Ariza was able to put the ball on the floor a little bit as well. So, but I do think this guy's got a little bit more sauce. I just know these kids growing up now, in France and overseas, they do, they are growing up with a little bit more of a bit of a bag. So I think Dadiet could end up creating a shot. But for now, I'll be working on the 3-point stroke, catch and shoot, and his defense, which looks to be pretty solid. But yeah, great question with that one. And look, he definitely took a discount to come. He didn't want to go back overseas as well. So I respect that. I respect that, and I also respect the Knicks scouts. They saw enough to invest in him. Again, the size could be the best attribute. He's on a real roster spot now, on a cost-friendly contract with no pressure, I think. Think about the difference this guy's coming in to the Knicks versus Kevin Knox and Frank Ntilikina when they were drafted to the Knicks. Right. When those guys were drafted to the Knicks, they were seen as a savior or as a guy who better get busy from year one. Right. There'll be probably parts of the season where fans will forget about Paciome Dadiet because he won't be playing. He'll be in Westchester. Meanwhile, Josh Hart, OG, Mikal, and Dante get to work. Bates-Diop, whoever. So there'll be parts of the season where people will be like, "Oh, how's Paciome Dadiet looking?" He'll be able to basically develop behind closed doors, right? But in 2 or 3 years, if he comes out and he's a monster, then absolutely that is a steal, I think. Margaret says, I prefer Dadiet where he is. He will be a starter in the future. Yep, salute. J Dub says, Paciome will be a small forward on the next level. He needs to go to the G, refine his skills. In 2 years, he will be ready to contribute. Chris gives him a D-. Can tell he's athletic, but shooting that many air balls is crazy. He's adjusting to the 3-point line with that one. But yeah, I like his off-ball movement, and I do like his compete level. I think he does get after it. He mixes it up. He does like contact as well. And look, could it be a blessing that he actually had a rough summer league? I mean, we call it like we see it here. Kevin Knox had an amazing summer league, took that a little bit of confidence into the season, but that went away, right? So I think having a rough summer league can reset expectations for Dadiet that like, hey, you're not going to come in and you're not going to be a major factor early. Get into the lab, get into the factory and work on your game. Let people sleep on you, come back with a chip and prove people that you belong kind of thing as well. You were a first round draft pick as well. But the positives, once again, I like his size, I like his defense, I like his feel for the game. The cutting was timely. The finishing at the rim looked good as well. Anytime he had to put the ball on the floor and create something, it just wasn't happening, But things were a lot of quite crowded, and a lot of fouls going on as well. So salute. um, yeah, Bob, Kevin Knox is on the G League squad of Golden State right now as well. Shout out to him as well. Scotty, welcome in. Glad you could join us. Thanks for subscribing. Anyone else that's new here, welcome in. Let us know, introduce yourself, and I will shout you out. The Knicks finished 3-2, so let's take some confidence out of this, right? We've talked about all our guys. Let's, talk a little bit about Kevin McCullough and what could have been, and also Jake Toppin, what could have been as well. So I'll talk a little bit about Jake. Jake played well in the first 2 games. Unfortunately, he picked up a foot injury. I haven't heard any reporting yet. The Knicks haven't updated us as far as I know. But Jake, final year of the two-way. Talk about another guy who Paciome can play next to at Westchester. That is another reason to watch the Westchester Knicks this season, especially if Kolek is playing as well. So, the Knicks G League squad might be really buzzing this season. And I think when you do normally see the big clubs successful for organizations, normally you start to see the G League squad become really successful, because for obvious reasons there's a crowded there's a crowd in talent, right? So yeah, Westchester should be competing for this season, should be competing for a chip. If Skap and Sev also comes in and maybe a part of Westchester as well, I think that'll be a fun look. So yeah, I like what Jake did in the first 2 games. Not enough to really come out with major takeaways, but he did look more mature. Look like he could do a little bit more on offense. His finishing at the rim was good. And so, yeah, his big man depth at the power forward, small forward situation. But right now, he's 5th, 6th string right now. Does he become 4th string? We'll see if Keita Bates-Diop, sticks around. Dadiet's there as well too. But yeah, Jake's on the final year of the two-way. After next season, he won't be eligible to be on a two-way anymore as well. But yeah, for guys like us that have seen Jake, play garbage time and all of that, and hope that Tibbs will give him a chance, I think this is the year where, if there is blowouts or there is injuries, I think this is a chance that, if he looks good in training camp, maybe we see a little bit more, but we'll find out, right? But then Kevin McCullough, with that said, we need to see him healthy. He's still recovering. Had a really wretched run of injuries at the NCAA. I think fortuitously that worked in our favor, because if McCullough, was healthy, had a tournament, had pre-draft, he would have been drafted higher than 56, right? So the Knicks potentially got a steal with Kevin McCullough, but it's all because of the health, right? We do need to see the health and see him out on the floor as well. But the Knicks got a steal, I think, with the 58th pick with Ariel Hukporti. A guy who could be 3rd string, back up in a pinch. I think, the Knicks could get potentially excellent value out of him and that draft pick too. He's had 3 seasons of pro experience to cook overseas, and I think he does look ready to contribute as a backup 3rd string kind of guy. So that's where we're at from Summer League, guys. I mean, I think we ended on a good note. Overall, we saw Rokas finally do what he could do with the New York Knicks, uni on. It's up to the New York Knicks now to decide. Can we, squeeze a trade and get something out of him, get some value out of the pick? Or do we be more patient, open up a spot for him, or send him back overseas, right? Let us know what you would prefer to see. Dominic's in the building. Paciome is so raw right now. Everything he does on the court excites me. Uh, yeah, the G League is going to be a good sign to watch. Organized offense too. Um, Paulus is exactly. I don't know how you look at Frank and think he could be a savior. That tells you the state of the Knicks organization was in. We were crying out for a point guard. That was one of the biggest things, and I think he was sold us. He was sold to us as being that perfect two-way point guard. I think that Phil Jackson saw. Um, yeah, and Dirty Dancer on McCullough. I think from what I heard, it's not as serious as people might think. He had a scope, but yeah, I think throughout the season, what led to that might be a little bit more concerning. I think there is a real situation where he could be stashed. We'll see. But one person who won't be stashed is Ariel Hukporti. Out of the Kolek situation being number one, I think the bigs were the second biggest positive coming out of Summer League. We've got us two guys that can fight, to be a third backup if needed. And look, to some people that might sound like, who cares? Like, whoever the third string is, some people don't care. What I would say is, the season is a long season. It is a grind. And as much as I don't want to see it, we most likely will see Mitch miss some time. So then suddenly, the third guy becomes the second guy, and becomes a backup too. And the other point I want to make is that the Knicks are competing for a championship, and right now when you're competing, you have little margin for error, right? You need to finish with a good seeding. You need to execute in the postseason, round 1, round 2, round 3, all of those things. Now, we are at a little concern level, having Mitch, but then no proven backup right now. For me, Precious isn't a long-term solution at the backup. If he's backup on opening night, I'm fine with that. I'm fine. He's an NBA player, can move his feet well, can be a good help defender, but long term, he's not the solution for a backup to me. He's not a real center, and he's not great offensively either. He does miss some bunnies around the rim as well. Skap to me has a little bit better touch around the basket, a better jump shot as well. Hukporti is a better rebounder and a better interior presence as well. So there we have it, significant hole at the backup spot, but encouraging signs from Hukporti and Skap throughout this summer league. Third string backup, we don't need to talk about Tyler Kolek really anymore. He has proven himself to being capable of playing 10, 15 minutes right away. We might suffer a little bit defensively. I think he'll get stronger. He'll get used to the speed of the game. He'll definitely repay his value by setting guys up and making the offense look better. His finishing at the rim is as good as advertised, and I think he will learn really quick under Jalen Brunson all the tricks of the trade, the angles, how to beat your man, where to be on the floor, all of those things. I think 3 months under Jalen Brunson, Tyler Kolek will level up his game, I think, to the next level. He looks like a real quick learner, in his 23. He's not wet behind the ears. He's been around. And, of course, Deuce McBride, he might teach him some defensive, tips as well. And then, the campaign pickup, I gave that a B. I think campaign is really good vet insurance as well. What's up, Chris? Diop did play some center for the Spurs, didn't he? Great question. I'm not sure, but if anyone else can let us know. Again, he would be a undersized center, undersized 5. But once again, it'd be makeshift for me, and I want someone who's a little bit more assured, and I do think Tom Thibodeau wants that as well. If you can defend the rim and rebound, you'll get minutes. And we may as well wrap up with a little bit of a hot take. I'm good for that. I always give my opinions, guys, and we shout you guys out as well. We don't hold back. Based on what I know, the New York Knicks are extremely high on Ariel Hukporti. You know, Summer League has shown us flashes, but I think that one of the reasons he appealed to the Knicks is because he does exactly what Tibbs loves, right? When Isaiah Hartenstein came to the New York Knicks, right, he was far from the Isaiah Hartenstein that we saw in the final playoff game or in the postseason, right, when he was at his best, right. Isaiah Hartenstein had a lot of bumps along the way. He had a very rocky first season with the Knicks as the backup. He had the Achilles, he had some inconsistencies and all of that, and he still leveled up and grew his game. So I think, Ariel Hukporti could be anything with the Knicks, with Tibbs, with the staff and the coaching. I do think that, they are really high on him. He doesn't venture outside of his comfort zone, but he tries to be the best at what he can be, which is rim runner, rebounding that Tibbs loves. And I think he's got every shot to compete and win some minutes from the first season. So we'll see. It's going to be really fascinating to see him go up against Sims, in camp as well. Could that be, the fact that they're so high on him could also be a reason why they're, taking it slow with the other situation, with the backup and Precious and all of those things. He just is what he is. They scouted him and he rebounds like Tibbs loves. Python Nick says, yep, Diop did play some 5, but very bad rebounding. Johnny says, yes, CT, Brunson, perfect mentor for high IQ and Kolek. Yeah, perfect high IQ Kolek. Yeah, TKO, I'm calling him now. And Killer Kolek. Take over Tyler. Brian says Hukporti will start in games this year. He passes the NBA eye test. I agree with you, man. In terms of passing the NBA eye test, whether he starts, I think will be dependent on injuries. Would I trust him? I think I would. I think I would trust him. I don't think he would hurt us to the point. I mean, as you said, I think his game looks NBA ready. He might have some struggle moments, but really the Knicks squad is so good to the point where, a couple bum minutes, is that really going to hurt the Knicks from losing a game, right, as a backup center or starter? I think the fact that you got Randall and OG to hide a lot of that as well, I think we're in a really, really good situation for the rest of the roster too. We just need more durability too. Chris says this may be a reach, but Ariel reminds me of Andrew Bynum. I think minus a little bit of that extra size, but yeah, he could be a guy, if he does develop the touch around the basket, rebounding and all of that too. Yep. Cully with the TKO. Absolutely, man. Lights out. When Kolek's got the ball with 10 seconds left, it's lights out. So the G League, Westchester, I think a lot of the games are live on YouTube as well. From what I've seen, a lot of games are on YouTube. Delmar Brown says, hey CT, didn't Hukporti get a two-way deal? That's a win-win for the Knicks organization. 50 games between the G and the big club. He does what Tibbs likes. Absolutely, man. And I was talking about it early on. I tweeted about Hukporti in January. They scouted him as well. NBA draft expert analyst Sam Vecini of The Athletic had Hukporti as a clear second-round pick all season. He said, I think on a recent pod with Fred Katz on Katz and Shoot, that before Summer League began, Sam Vecini said that he feels like Hukporti would be ready for 10 minutes, as a backup in the league, like from the get. Whilst he's a rookie, he's 3 years pro experience. One of those years he was out with an Achilles, but The other 2 years, his team finished on top of the table as the champion, and on the other season, his final season in the NBL, he finished on top of the table and lost in the finals. So played at a really high level in terms of competition too. And look, yeah, the man got better every single summer league game too. Double double, and the last 2 games close to a double double, minus the minutes. Defensively, I think that's where he could really improve too. I don't think defensively he was really that great in this summer league. I think offensively in the pick and roll was better, and also rebounding, I mean, was elite, right? I mean, if you want to get minutes for Tibbs, you better do something elite. And if that skill set is rebounding, you're in with a damn good shot, right? He could snatch a rebound out of right out of the air with 4 guys on him. And you know that's what's going to get Tibbs going. No Diddy. But, Tibbs is watching, and he's seen him fight for those rebounds as well. Skap and Sev looked really good around the basket too with the touch. I don't think his rebounding will translate as well in the NBA, just from a physicality standpoint. But I do think Dimitrios Skapensev is better offensively. We've seen him knock down the J. We've seen him hit some of those shots from the perimeter as well. But I do want to just kind of finish it up and wrap up on Rokas, right? For this main reason, right? This could be the last time we see Rokas in a New York Knicks uniform, right? I'm not wanting to get sentimental or anything like that, but with Rokas, right, it's been a while. It's been a couple of years. We drafted him back with Deuce McBride, and for some of us, we're wanting to see what he looked like. Given the opportunity to come over again, his rookie summer league was kind of a blur. But I think we saw a little bit more matured Rokas, especially offensively. Had a man's jam, and lit it up last game, and really solid today, minus the turnovers. So, look, all the best to Rokas. I got a feeling, the writing is kind of on the wall that he won't be with the Knicks long term. But, if we can get something from him via a trade and as a throw-in, I think, I would prefer to do that, because it's going to free him up to pursue his NBA career. Because based on what I've seen, Rokas could be on a 2-way on any NBA team, right? At the very least, he could be a 2-way player. If he does want to pursue the NBA, like he said, as he confirmed to the New York Post, Steph Bondy, with years of maturity experience I have from Europe, I think I'm ready, Rokas said, and I would like to come here. And I think his actions did speak that, you do come to Summer League when you're a 23-year-old. It does kind of show that you do want to pursue the NBA. So I think with that said, he could easily be a training camp on any team, 2-way, maybe a 14th, 13th man on a roster for sure, man. I know Orlando love their guards. I'm sure the LA Lakers need some extra backcourt help as well. I think it would be wise for the New York Knicks to trade his rights, and get something that we can get from Rokas, but also let him pursue his NBA. As we see the man's jam on this one coming baseline as well. It's plays like that okay, he's aggressive, and he's trying to win that NBA spot. So for me, he's not going to sniff an opportunity with the Knicks. But let's see how the organization views it. I think he did show that he's more of a shooting guard, if over the other one, which is the point guard playmaking, but he can do a bit of both. I think he could be like just a hybrid of the both, a combo with that. But he definitely can look for his shot. The 3-point shooting looked to be as good as advertised. Dirty Dancer says, Rokas is the long-distance girlfriend you never got to meet up with. Yeah, that is a good one. That is a good one. We finally caught up, and it's like, what are your impressions? You know, NYC Ball says, CT, what's your brave prediction for the season? Brave prediction for the season is we're going to be the number one seed. Um, to some people that's not that brave. So um, that's as brave as I can go, fam. And if you want me to go further than that, I'll definitely say we're going to be in the Eastern Conference Finals, matching up with Boston. It's going to be awesome. I think we're better than Philly still. We've got better depth, and I do think Leon Rose, is still working on, finishing the roster. Like Kevin McCullough, like we talked about. Maybe Rokas gets that spot. Maybe Rokas gets that spot with us if he's willing to take it and fight for minutes. Maybe we upgrade, the backup power forward and the backup center. To the backcourt, we're absolutely stacked. Campaign is here now. Dadiet on the wing as well. In the center position, if you got Sims, Hukporti, Skap and Sev, and maybe Precious, we've got bodies there as well. So, but I do think we're trying to get a bigger name. So yeah, NBA Eastern Conference Finals, top seed. I think Boston will suffer a hangover, like the winning team usually does. 3 guys on Boston are competing in the Olympics. When you talk about Holiday, Derek White, and of course Tatum as well. So I do think that the C's will suffer a little bit of a hangover. I think the New York Knicks will be gunning for the top seed to hashtag 60 wins from buzzer beater, NYK 60 wins. Nick Yak says we are a 50-win team because of Tibbs pushing for every single win. Definitely. Delmar says for the first time since being a fan for decades that the Knicks are seriously all in for the chip. 100%. Agree. Optimus says Knicks need to be in the ECF this coming season. I think we'll have the best possible chance, man. Obviously, it's up to the basketball gods with the injuries and all of that, but we've made, assurances that we've got bodies now. We're 4 deep at the point guard spot. We could be 5 deep if we wanted to bring Rokas, right? We're 4 deep at the wing situation, which is legit now. We're not that deep at the power forward, and we're not that deep at the big man, at the center position with tried and tested experience. We can be deep if we want to sign Skap and Sev, see what Hukporti can be. But maybe a good question to ask you guys is, now that you've seen Skap and Sev and Hukporti, does that make you want to trade for Walker Kessler, more and give up the reported, asking price? Or does that make you feel a lot more comfortable where, okay, let's just do a deal for Nick Richards. Let's just bring Precious back. What are your thoughts on that based on what you've seen for this summer league and with these guys, right? Are you more still pro, let's get Walker Kessler, let's trade 2 firsts, let's get it done? Or are you cool enough with Nick Richards for Rokas, Sims, and a pick? Or are you just like, sign Skap and Sev, sign Precious, let's go? Obviously, as we recap our grades too, get ready to wrap this thing up. C- for our first overall draft pick, the 25th pick, Paciome Dadiet. Showed us a lot of flashes. Look forward to seeing him in Westchester. I am glad that we drafted him too, so my opinions haven't changed on that. Right. Next man, Dmitrio Skapintsev. I'm going to give him an A- for the entire summer league. Definitely earned a training camp invite, and if we don't give him one, I'm pretty sure a lot of NBA teams will be calling his agent right now as well. So love and respect to what Skapintsev has done. Hopefully he doesn't have to go back to Ukraine, even if he wanted to. Right. Next up, our final draft pick of the NBA draft, Ariel Hukporti, signed the 2-way deal. He gets a B+ for me overall. You know, kind of matched expectations. You know, I think today, you know, sort of maybe a little exceeded them in terms of efficiency around the basket, and just looked like a menace, absolute menace in the paint, a baby Bynum, like you guys said, so to speak. And I think that's a good comp. You know, I think his rebounding, you know, his skill set is NBA ready. Next up, we gave out our grade to Rokas, right? Does he get moved? Does he stick? Or do the New York Knicks remain a little bit more patient with him? We'll wait and see. But for me, Rokas's grade is going to be an A-. A- for what Rokas showed us in Summer League. And I think this is based on expectations as well. Really got his guys involved. The playmaking is a highlight when he needs to, but he can score as well. I think defensively he was better than advertised as well. And last but not least, Tyler Kolek, based on my expectation as well, gets an A- for the Summer League. Defensively could improve, as we know, but showed us that he's NBA ready. Would be a joy to play with on the basketball court, because he's not tunnel vision. You know, he's not score first. He's look for his guys and make sure that they eat. And I think a lot of these guys are going to owe, the bigs are going to owe him a dinner, you know, and the bigs are going to owe him a drink, him and Rokas too. So salute to the Knicks Summer League squad. I hope they can enjoy the nightlife a little bit tonight, you know, head out as a team. Hopefully salute for a few drinks right now. And then, you know, for the Knicks current draft guys, hopefully they get back to Westchester or the training facility, and next week get to work. Or I'm not sure. You know, I'm sure voluntary workouts commence, but the other veterans will probably enjoy the summer a little bit more. Maybe head overseas for some holiday. But I think mid-August, a lot of the guys will be back at MSG training facility too. We'll see if Julius gets that extension coming up in August as well, guys. But definitely, you know, Summer League was a big success from my perspective. You know, we've been in a situation where we've had to watch some really bad basketball in the Summer League the last 2 seasons, right? We finished 3-2 for this one, and it was a success for me. Overall, I'll give it a B+, right? It could have been better if Dadiet, you know, looked even nice, but I think we got what we needed to see from these other guys too. Rokas, wish you the best. We'll see what happens coming up. But yeah, all eyes now turn towards the rest of free agency. We'll be doing more season previews. We've also got a guest next week talking about our rookies and recapping Summer League with the performances of our rookies as well. So look forward to that, guys, as well. Appreciate you all. Thank you for the comments, the questions, and our replay squad also salute. Let us know your thoughts about Summer League overall. If you agreed or disagreed with any of the grades, let us know. Speak your mind, and smash that like button. The Knicks streets are buzzing. Big season ahead. As I said, Knicks gunning for the top seed, in my opinion, now. I prefer to keep Julius Randle, come to an extension agreement that works for both sides, and bring it back for the season ahead. Stock up the center position without going too crazy. You know, don't give up Deuce McBride. Don't give up 2 first-round draft picks. Just get it done. Just get something serviceable. Whether it is Sims, Rokas, a pick, you know, maybe Bates-Diop, something along the margins, because I do think Hukporti and Skap could be nice insurance, I think, for the team moving forward. And of course Jericho as well, working on his game for this season too. But Kevin McCullough, we'll wait to see, man. I'm really interested to see if he gets the role for that. Would you give that to Rokas on the two-way situation? That'll be fascinating to see. I know the organization is quite high on McCullough, and they drafted him for a reason. He's got good skills that'll help the Knicks moving forward. And I think he will sign with us, whether it's a stash or he'll in the future, or he'll come right now. But that said, I'm excited, man. I like the Payne signing. I like what Leon's doing. I think we're all just kind of waiting now. And I think next week could be a key week with the pressure situation. I mean, how much longer can he hold out for the Knicks to make a move, right? I think he's waiting for his money too, fam. So, yeah, with that said, we'll get it on Monday. If any news breaks tomorrow, we'll be live. Of course, we'll be covering it post-game tomorrow if anything happens with a live stream, sorry. But otherwise, we'll be back Monday. Fam, peace, everyone. Smash that like button. Salute.